I would like to thank you, the organizer, Dr. Martison, Grace, and all the people involved in the Functional Food Committee who is doing excellent work by providing this conference to everybody in the need. And as you know, this pandemic is very devastating for many people. So we should all gather more information through and get connected through the for the conferences to learn more about how people can get help with our research and development that we are doing. So as I discussed you, like there are many patients, at least 40% of the patients have with COVID have acute kidney injury, and we don't know about chronic kidney disease, how many will have, but time will tell us. And ACE2 receptor, which is a receptor for COVID-19 virus infection, it is expressed by the kidney tubules. And we found a receptor, we found a molecule that can inhibit the receptor and thus inhibiting the virosomal entry. So functional food can be beneficial it has been shown to be beneficial in the kidney, but it can be beneficial in the kidney disease caused by COVID-19 as well. We need to do more research on this. So how this happens, if you can see my cursor, I will walk you through. So COVID-19 virus, which is called SARS-CoV-2, has these spike proteins, which is in purple, and this binds to ACE2 receptors. And after binding, this virus is being uptaken by the cells, and it does multiple things you can see here. But my one of the prominent thing I would like to say you about S3 protein is this is the protein against which the vaccine was made. For even Moderna or Pfizer, they use this protein to make a vaccine so that instead of binding to this receptor, antibody will bind to this S3 protein and it will inhibit the infection. So there are many targets which is being investigated for the therapeutics of COVID-19. And if you look at the clinical trials, there are close to 2,600 trials which is ongoing. 448 are on lung and 32 are on kidney. And there are targets like human protein targets like ACE2 inhibitors, TMPRRS, then also the symptoms like IL-6, fever, and organ injury. So you can try to protect all the organs individually. Uh, Apart from that, there are also inhibitors trying to inhibit the viral proteins like S3, NSP30, NSP10, and all those proteins to inhibit the viral load. What happens in the lung? If you look at, this is a nice diagram I found. So this is a nice healthy lung, and after this infection, you can see that these microvasculature is basically ruptured because these viruses, they have esterase, which is an enzyme that basically can cause clot, and these clots um, can basically uh, rupture the small vesicles because there's no blood flow in these small vesicles. And then what happens is these lungs, they uh, they make a bypass, kind of bypass vessels. So what happens is there are bigger vessels. You can clearly see here more, like there are bigger vessels that is made as a repair mechanism. But if you think about all these small macro vessels, they are all destroyed. So what happens is the effective area that was um, available for oxygen uptake is reduced, and that's why you see a drop in oxygen content in the body, and that is causing hypoxia, and many patients die because of this. So going into the lungs, if you see these, this is healthy lung. You can see very nice vasculature. This is the electron microscope image. You can see nice vasculature, but in the COVID-19 lungs, you see a lot of ruptured microvesicles. And if you see even a zoomed image, you can see these holes that are made in the vasculature, and that is what it is, leakage of the blood and oxygen. and that is a cause of the problem in lungs. What happens in the kidney? So in the New York study, when there was a lot of patients there, it was found that 40% of the patients were getting acute kidney injury AKI, and there is a range from zero point 0.5 to 23% all over the world. This is the report from consolidated from other part of the world as well, and they have found that there is a significant amount of acute kidney injury in the patients with COVID-19. Up to 9% of the patients were in need of renal replacement therapy, which is basically to change the kidney patients. In the ICU settings, you see 8% of the people have uh, kidney injury as compared to 2% in non-ICU cases. Of course, with the comorbidity, we see much more. I have put some references here. You see more uh, morbidity, like CVD itself is 40%. If somebody has CKD, which is uh, chronic kidney disease, you see up to 40% of the morbidities. In diabetic patient, this was 20%, and if somebody has hypertension, you see like up to 30% of the patients are dying. And of course, there are more like urinary abnormality, like albuminuria, proteinuria. These are the markers that you see as a uh, kidney disease, kidney dysfunction markers. So you estimate this proteinuria or albumin in the in the urine of the patients with uh, chronic kidney disease or acute kidney injury, and you see these are increased. So this was the one of the study that was done in by people infected with COVID initially, and this is data from 22 patients. Here is the uh, distribution, like males, females, and their age. What they found initially was lungs has, so the red is like the viral load is higher and the blue is less. So they found that lungs have significant higher amount of viral load and detected by the mRNA of SARS-CoV-2, but kidney also has moderate level of expression of virus, apart from other organs like heart, brain, and blood, of course. So then they did this biopsy. These patients, most of the patients were dead, so they were able to get the lung, kidney, and other organs. And what they found here is they did this lung in the biopsy. They looked at the S3 protein, and they found that this is so these red marks are basically the virus. So they say that the virus is in the lung, and in the kidney they found in the glomerulus there are viral particles, and there are also in the tubules. Next, what they did is they looked at closer into the kidney, and they found that in the lung, and if you think about these green things, these are the viral particles, and even in the glomerulus, they found this green stuff, which is SARS-CoV virus. So they clearly showed that the virus is in the kidney, and this is in the tubules as well as in the glomerulus. And they did some of the co-immuno staining to look at other markers to say that this is glomerulus and this is tubules. Okay, so then we will move to the okay. So the results I would like to tell you, we found a small molecule that inhibits virosomal entry to the cells. The inhibitor works specifically with the receptor expressed by tubular cells in the kidney. Additionally, we found that inhibitor inhibits the uptake of oxidized lipids, and thus the inhibitor may reduce the uptake of oxidized lipids to and from the functional food and improve the kidney health. So how we find this inhibitor? I will tell you a little more about what we did. So we did a screening for the small molecule inhibitor, and what we used is a lipid. So this is a biochemical assay. You have the cells expressing these receptors. If you have this receptor expression, you will see these lipids will be uptaken by the cells. If you have an inhibitor, which is in green, you will see reduction uh, in the expression, and these lipids are fluorescently labeled. So you can read this by taking the imaging, and you will quantitate it to see what are the molecules that is inhibiting the lipid uptake. So this is the one of the plate layout that I want to show you. So we did all these experiments in 384 well plates. So you have all these wells, which is each plate wells have the cells, and then you put 384 compounds on these plates, and then you read the plate to look at the fluorescence. And suppose the red is some compound will increase the uptake, some compound will decrease, but we are interested in the compound that can decrease the uptake of this uh, LDL, and that is basically in green. So we found a compound called TW37 that inhibits uptake through binding the KIM1 receptor, which is on the kidney epithelial cells. And you can see that this is the oxidized matrix, and this is the representative image that you can see. So this is the control, and then you have increasing concentration of this compound, and you see that this uptake was reduced, and at 100 micromolar or 33 micromolar, you see almost no uptake by by um, by uh, by these cells. And this was a very good compound, and we don't see, we have done further studies to look at is this toxic or not to the cells, and we found that these cells are not toxic. I will give you some more introduction, some more data about what we did in the mice. So this compound was basically used in the mouse because this compound is safe. And as you can see here in the figure B, so these are the control, and these are on the right side are the TW37 treated compounds. I would like to focus you on F480 staining. So you see more F480 in red here. That is a marker of uh, inflammatory cells, macrophages, and these macrophages were reduced after TW37. And we did it after fatty acid uptake also. And you can see that after fatty acid treatment and treated with TW37, we see a decrease in macrophages infiltration, saying you that there's less inflammation, and that this is the quantitation of the same, saying you that if you have free fatty acid and TW37 treatment decreases uh, the uptake of decreases the macrophage um, cells infiltration in the kidney. Again, we looked at the fibrosis, and these are basically again focus on red staining, which is smooth muscle actin, which is a marker for myofibroblast accumulation in the kidney or other tissues as well. So in the controls, we see a lot of myofibroblast. After TW37, we barely see anything. In terms of free fatty acid, we see more accumulation of myofibroblast in the control mice, but after TW37, we see a reduction in the myofibroblast uh, accumulation in these mice. And these all are basically treated with histologic acid. Uh, on top of that, we are treating with them with free fatty acid to cause further fibrosis. So these are not normal. All of them are fibrotic kidneys. So histologic acid, I want to give you some background. These are the chemical induced kidney fibrosis models where we use either free fatty acid or histologic acid to cause kidney damage. Okay. So next, coming to our data on the SARS-CoV-2 entry. So TW37, basically, we use this virosomes that was made in the lab to study this viral entry. And we found that this is the control cells. And these are proximal tubular cells. And this is the anti-KIM1 cells, KIM1 antibody. So you can block the receptor and see that we were able to reduce the virosomal entry. further, we also use the TW37, the compound, and red is the viral entry. So you can see that after inhibition of the red staining, after inhibition by TW37, we did not see much of the virosomes that were going inside the cells. And this is a proof of concept study to show you that TW37 is inhibiting the virosomal entry to the cells. These are kidney cells. We also looked at a question if TW37 is inhibiting the um, ACE2 receptor, because ACE2 receptor might be more applicable to the human body, and inhibition may have adverse effect. So we use this immunostaining for ACE2 receptor, and we did not find significant decrease or increase in the ACE2 receptor expression after TW37 or anti-KIM1 antibody inhibition. So this tells you that uh, these TW37 inhibits uh, COV2 entry into the cells. And we also looked at the if it is basically binding to the uh, which protein of SARS-CoV is binding to the is inhibited by the TW37, and to do that we use this S protein, which is a protein from the virus that is responsible for uptake. And what we found here is very interesting, and that when we put the TW37, the S protein entry was reduced. This is 3% versus 90% of the protein in the control. So telling you that when we inhibited this, we see the S protein entry was inhibited, and this is basically the cells positive for S protein, and you can clearly see that after we block it with TW37, we see a significant decrease in the inhibition in the virosomes. Okay. So in the discussion, we want to tell you that this is a small molecule inhibitor for this receptor KIM1 provides a specific drug targets for the inhibition of COVID-19 disease in the kidney cells. And there is a need for the mouse study to translate these findings to the patients with COVID-19. And it will be important to investigate the interaction of lipids from functional foods to evaluate the kidney health. And in the conclusion, I want to tell you that the inhibitor for viral entry and its specific receptors provides a novel tool to inhibit virosomal entry to the tubular cells and may have therapeutic implication in the treatment of COVID-19 to protect the kidney. And we also need to do more functional studies to look at which functional food or which lipids can be inhibited by TW37, and we need to segregate if it is inhibiting bad lipids versus the good lipids, kind of LDL and SDL, and which functional food are important for this. So with that, I would like to thank you all of you for carefully listening, and I would be happy to take any questions if you have.
If anyone have a question, so please you can send via the chat. Let's see if there is any question in chat. Here is one question, Dr. Ajay. Could the essential oils from spices be potential viral inhibitors?
Yeah, so there is very many research has been done in this field, and these essential oils may have some active ingredient that can inhibit the potentially inhibit the virus from the entry, But we have to think about it, like how we are going to treat these, how we are going to intake these oils. Is it applying on the body, or is it putting in out by eating? So there are different mode of actions, and also we need further study to confirm that this is inhibiting the viral entry. So we need to do more study on these essential oils.
Okay, very good. Uh, so one general question. So what do you think about COVID-19 and kidney? How big percentage of people were affected, and is any indications that certain people, for some reason, they were affected by virus exactly to the kidney?
Yes, so there has been studies all over the world on the patients who were infected with COVID-19. And what was found is, in general, in the developing countries, there were more, like up to 23% of the people who were infected. But the maximum concentration was in New York, where there were like 40% of the people who were having acute kidney injury after COVID-19 infection. I was talking to the clinicians who goes to one of my colleague who goes to the clinic these days, and he was saying this time in this wave they are saying reduced acute kidney injury than the previous surge. So that is one insight saying that people might have different level of kidney injury at different surges. So maybe it might have to do either with the virus change or mutations. We don't know.
Okay, very good. If there is any other question,
I can see one question. People are saying, have you tried using fucoidan or fucoxanthin and iridoids to in preventing viral entry into the kidney? So, good question. We have not tried these compounds in the kidney, uh, but I think if this compound is inhibiting the viral entry, it's worth trying in the laboratory and see if this can decrease the viral load or viral infection.
okay, very good. Thank you so much.